Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Craig Burley and Shaka Hislop. Later on in the programme, we're reflecting on a disappointing day in the Club World Cup for Chelsea. But we kick things off with news that we've discussed a lot over the last few weeks, but it was made official by Liverpool Football Club today that Florian Wirtz is the latest addition to the squad, and he becomes the most expensive transfer in Premier League history, 116 million euros to make that switch from Bayer Leverkusen to Liverpool. Frank Leboeuf joins us. We'll be hearing Frank in a moment. Craig, I haven't had the chance to talk to you about them. What a shame. I was lying in bed thinking, I wonder what Craig thinks about Florian Wirtz. Well, wait to hear what he has
We actually discussed it before my jaunt to England because it was in the pipeline.
Well, that was 2 months ago, so that was a while ago. So
well, it was in the pipeline, and we said how exciting it was, particularly after Stevie said Liverpool don't spend big on players.
Yes.
And all that, and then he's had to sort of backtrack with the world record transfer fee for Alisson and Van Dijk, and now this huge fee for Florian Wirtz. But you have to say, in today's market, with the valuations, it's worth it.
Right.
Because he's a game changer, and I've never quite seen this Bayern Munich, Musiala and Wirtz combination, because the balance just doesn't work. And I think Florian Wirtz was quite clever to that. I know he said he wanted to go to Liverpool, but I think he was quite shrewd, and when Ole Hoeneß and others were pushing it, to recognise that he needed a bigger change and maybe get out of the country and somewhere new in a very successful side in Liverpool. And I think it is going to be a game changer for them in terms of pushing on. If City push them, if Arsenal push them again, the two teams we really expect, he is going to be the guy, he could be the guy to take them again to that next level from where they were last year.
Talk about walking into a club with money in the bank. Yeah. In the sense that he could have gone to Bayern, Manchester City were interested, and he went, no, Liverpool. So already you've got the fans on side despite this big transfer fee.
Without question, I think it ticks so many boxes for both Liverpool and Florian Wirtz. There's no disputing how talented a footballer Florian Wirtz is, that he fits in, kind of given Liverpool's successes, given who they have, who they've managed to keep on. I think he just fits in absolutely seamlessly. Liverpool, defending English champions, looking to take that next step, not just in terms of competing more consistently with Liverpool, last season apart, maybe dropped off, but then in Europe as well. And I think Florian Wirtz moves them back into that department. You keep hold of Mo Salah for the next couple of years. As of right now, you have so much attacking talent. Adding Florian Wirtz to that, I think, just continues to make Liverpool a far more fearsome prospect.
Frank, what does that do to the dressing room? How do you feel if you're a Liverpool player seeing them spend this sort of money and that sort of quality coming in?
Well, I think you are pleased because it says a lot about the ambition of the club, and it says to have Florian Wirtz alongside you, it's always a plus. And as Craig mentioned, you know, it's pretty rare to see Liverpool spending so much money. So believing in such amount on one player is pretty remarkable. And I think the players will be absolutely happy to have alongside them again players with that talent. So it's always a plus. I mean, it says a lot about the ambition, and Liverpool clearly says we want to win the Premier League again, and we want to win the Champions League. And with Florian Wirtz, we can do so because he's going to bring something different. Because we didn't have somebody in the middle of the park with that talent. It's very rare. He's a particular player. I like the way that he thinks the football, and he suits perfectly to Liverpool for me.
What do you do with him?
That is the question, because if you looked at Bayer Leverkusen last year, quite often they played a 3 or 4, if you went into the sort of the lineups and the tactics, they'd play a 3 or 4 and Wirtz and one other behind the striker. But it was interesting, when he was not available, Xabi Alonso completely changed the way they did it. They went 3-5-2, or they went 4 at the back and 5 in midfield. So he was a guy that basically they built the team all around. Now, if you looked at Liverpool last year and in previous years under Jurgen Klopp, there was not a big change in formation last year. It was 4 at the back, it was 3 in the middle of the park, and it was 3 up front. Now, if they go this way again, Florian Wirtz can play in that position, but I don't think that's where he's at his strongest, and that's where you're going to get the best use of him. The player that's probably going to miss out the most, and he did so last year, was Dominic Szoboszlai, because I think McAllister and Gravenberch are absolutely key. So he could, bearing in mind they don't have a natural striker, they could go with Wirtz in a midfield 3 with a licence to float with again, a false number 9 up front. Or you might just change the shape a little bit to get Florian Wirtz into this number 10 position.
Right.
Behind, you know, a Luis Diaz or a Diego Jota or whoever. So you might see this from Liverpool, which is slightly getting away from what they have done. The concern I would have here, whether it's Diaz or Jota or whoever it is up front, would be that's a kind of false 9 position. They like to float around. They're not natural strikers, they like to float around. And if you've got Wirtz in there, that just might cloud that area a little bit. We might even see Florian Wirtz plays that false 9 and Dominic Szoboszlai or Curtis Jones comes into the middle of the park and he plays Wirtz in the middle and he lets him drop off, and then they have the wide players making those runs. There are so many more alternatives now. When we talked about the midfield, Gravenberch, brilliant. McAllister, brilliant. Szoboszlai, very good, wasn't his best season. Curtis Jones came in, did a great job. Harvey Elliott can come in, do a job. Now you add Florian Wirtz to that, that's the ability, better I think than anybody, even Man City with their signings, better than anybody in the Premier League to be able to rotate not only the shape of the side, but the personnel in the middle of the park. That's given Arne Slot a lot of firepower.
Frank?
Yeah, I think with on top of it, the new signing Frimpong and Kerkers on the side, you can secure defensively a little bit more than before, or a lot more than before when you had Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. So therefore, you don't need to have like 3 in the middle. 2 with Gravenberch and McAllister will be, I think, more than enough to secure defensively. And the creativity that you need, you will get it with Wirtz, playing as a number 10 or as a false 9. But with all the name that the coach has at his disposal, you can have whatever you want offensively, as long as you secure defensively, and it's what they needed the most. And with Frimpong and the Kerkers,
Frank, I think that's quite complimentary to Frimpong. I think Frimpong is someone that you would expect to go forward. If he's going to play in that role, he's going to be a lot more. He's going to have to be a lot more disciplined.
Well, you're looking at Conor Bradley in there, and I think the other side of this is I think it pretty much nails the fact that they're not going to go big on a striker. You know, they're not going to try and test. I wouldn't imagine Newcastle with Alex.
And is that okay? Will that come and bite them in the bum?
Well, I mean,
are we going to be sitting here in February talking?
Well, we could do if Mo Salah, in particular, fails to replicate the standard he has set and the goals tally he has set, which you know, his goals tally, a bit like Ronaldo and Messi in a sense, is akin to a number 9. Now, for him to do that again and again and again is difficult. So if his numbers drop by 50%, somebody else, and that still would be a good season, somebody else has to step up.
Sure.
That's the big question. The big question is, if there's a drop-off from the Gakpos, the Diaz and Jota, and the Mo Salah in particular, if his numbers drop, you know, even 30%, somebody else will have to fill that void. Now, whether it's Wirtz or one of the guys that are playing through the middle, that remains to be seen. But I don't think when you're spending this amount of money on a talented playmaker that Florian Wirtz is, that you're then going to go out and spend on a big striker.
Is there any concern that we could see the Kylian Mbappe effect? In that you spend big on a high quality player.
No. Is there a team?
Right now, there's no real suggestion that that's going to be the case. To the previous point that Craig was making, and while of course there's concern around Mo Salah, kind of given his age and given the fact that all good things must come to an end at some point, there's been no real suggestion that Mo Salah's numbers are going to take a nosedive. And as a result, I'm kind of wondering if Florian Wirtz is. If Arne Slot is kind of going back to that 4-3-3 and Wirtz kind of plays in a Roberto Firmino role where he has a little bit of freedom, we know he likes to kind of drift left, so there'll have to be an understanding with Gakpo, Luis Diaz, or whoever else it is out there.
The answer is no, because he's a team player.
Okay.
And Mbappe's not.
Right.
He's not. He had good numbers this year, but he's not a team player. You have to shuffle everything around him. You have to shuffle everything around Vinicius Junior. If it's not working in a certain area and he asks Florian Wirtz to go and play in a different area, Florian Wirtz will go and play in a different area. And they will make the adjustments. I think with Liverpool, it's more than about the individual. It's about the team. And I think the problem Ancelotti had It was about the individuals, and the team came second. So I really don't think that is going to be anywhere close to even being an issue with this signing.